It's your boy, Ed the Dread, and you are tuned in to the Ed the Dread podcast. Yes, sir. Welcome to your Money Mouth Monday and the Ed the Dread podcast. Here I am, rock me like a hurricane. Not literally, maybe mentally. Which I felt like has happened to me for the last week because I'm just coming back off of a surf trip to the Honua Finals, the World Cup of Interscholastic Surfing. It was the first ever world championship of high school surf, and our school, Baldwin High School, competed in it. So excuse me, I kind of lost my voice cheering the whole time. But I'm going to talk about we'll go over the Honua Finals results. And the topic for today's podcast is what makes a good surf trip. Because I've been on plenty of surf trips all over the coast of America and Costa Rica a number of times, Mexico, and now I live on Maui and have traveled to other islands to surf as well. And a lot of times, there's a bunch of different factors that go into, first and foremost, choosing where you're going to go. Second, what makes the trip what it is. And third, how you experience it all with the people that you go with. So coming back from this surf trip recently, spending 5 days on the island of Oahu, I have to say that it was the most fun surf trip I've ever had. The waves weren't like bombing by any means. For the contest, they had decent enough waves to compete. For the competitors' size, high school, freshmen to seniors in high school, the waves were like head high overhead. But as a coach, during the time when the waves were the best, I ended up being on the beach or on Magic Island, actually watching the action and helping competitors. So, as far as the contest goes, again, like I said, it was put on as the World Cup of Interscholastic Surfing. I believe it was sponsored by Nike Swim, and Iolani High School was actually the high school that hosted the event. It took place at Ala Moana Bowls in downtown Waikiki, and all the competitors were set up on Magic Island, a grass strip over like a rock jetty or a break wall that's there at like a boat inlet. So it was a pretty sick location for the event. And there was boys shortboard, girls shortboard, the boys longboard, girls longboard, and a co-ed bodyboard division. I believe they gave medals to the top 3 boys and the top 3 girls. But as far as you can look on live heats, all they have is the top scores from the finals. So I'll go over a few of the winners, a few people that won multiple, how some of the teams did. And then, like I said, we'll talk about what makes a good surf trip. So first and foremost, we got to shout out the teams from Maui, right? Ourselves, the Baldwin Bears, the King K, Na'ali'i, and the Maui Prep, I believe Owls, were in attendance and competing. And out of 12 teams that were there, Maui Prep took 9th place, Baldwin took 7th, and King K took 6th. So we had a good showing from the Maui teams. Out of all their individual competitors, each of our teams had someone placed in the top 3 or top 4 of an event, with one competitor from Maui actually winning it all for their division. So going through, the boys shortboard was won by a homie named Dylan Sloan. He's a ripper out of Huntington Beach. I believe it's Huntington Beach High School that they go to out there. He was shredding. I believe he actually may have won the NSSA Youth Championship this year as well. But be on the lookout for that dude. He was in every single division putting it down. The girls champion is a Maui surfer, Kristen Simpson-Kane from King Kekaulike High School. She's out riding Judd Lau surfboards, a local shaper here who makes amazing equipment, and she rides it very well. She performed amazing, pretty much as she always does in most competitions, and took the win home for Maui in the girls shortboard division. There were also 2 other competitors in girls shortboard who we ended up befriending. Our team kind of like had the most team spirit, you would say. And we ended up making friends with the team from New Zealand, who was from Wangamata area high school. And two of their girls were in the finals, both sisters, Lola and Chloe Grube. So Lola placed third and Chloe placed sixth. So shout out to those homegirls. Before their final, I think we were like playing some keep it up with the soccer ball and their team. It was like their warm up. So that was pretty sick. Kind of like, cross training of sports, warming up the legs up using soccer as opposed to just doing some stagnant stretching and or, plyometrics or something. The boys longboard was won by a competitor from Kauai, Sam DeBonnet. And there was Dylan Sloan, that cat from Huntington Beach. He was placed fifth, I believe, in the boys longboard. And then from King K High School here on Maui, second place was Teva Kianomaneboth. I hope I'm not butchering homeboy's name. Girls longboard was won by Pu'aiohi Defonis from Kamehameha Schools on Oahu. And then the bodyboard division was won by a guy from Kauai, Konalu Yamamoto. Homeboy from Huntington Beach, Dylan Sloan, took fifth place. And then big homie, local boy, Rex Ang, Baldwin Bears, took home the third place trophy. Yes, sir. He had probably the most entertaining walk-ins you could ever see to a contest. So that's kind of your overview of the winners and team points from the Honua World Championships of Surf. Iolani School took first place overall for team points. They had a number of surfers in all of the finals across the whole board. So I didn't really go through the top three of everything, but you get the gist. Look up some of those surfers, or just be aware in the future. They're going to come through. They're definitely coming through your radar as rippers in the near future. Which brings me to speak about the actual event outside of the contest. So we had a 5-day trip where our head coach set up the first day, which is the ceremonies, the inauguration ceremonies, which were held at Waikiki Standing Wave on Oahu. And then the 2 days of competition were the following 2 days at Ala Moana Bowls. And then we had 2 following days to kind of do what we wanted to do and have a look around the island. So in pure surf trip form, we woke up for dawn patrol every day and got out to the ocean as soon as we could. On the competition days, we were out just earlier than the competition started. And then as a coach, I ended up being on the beach, taking care of competitors, getting people in the right mindset for the competition, filming a bit, and, just making sure everything was running properly. Again, we kind of had the most, like I said, team-spirited team where, our whole team gathered to bring everybody in and out from the beach. We even, were cheering up people who got fifth place just to make them feel good, because the sport of surfing is about feeling good, even though it's a competition, right? So it made me think about this as a surf trip in relation to other trips that I've had. And I would say overall, in the world of going to places to surf, the west coast of Costa Rica, specifically Malpais, Santa Teresa, is probably one of the most consistent and my favorite place to go, although I haven't gone all over the planet. But in the small amount of places that I've traveled to surf, as far as just going specifically for a surf trip, Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, kind of, holds it down pretty hard. Shout out to homie Big Wave Dave Gunderson. He's out there right now getting it in for his summer break from teaching. But when you go on surf trips, if you're not going alone, it's coordinating with a number of people. And as far as a high school surf trip, you have the whole high school surf team, all of the coaches, and possibly other chaperones, depending on the gender specificities of your coaching staff. So we had to bring a female chaperone just because we had no female coaches, but we have an abundance of female athletes. And when figuring out the logistics of bringing a lot of people and a lot of boards to a lot of different places, and the needs of people and the needs of everyone involved, it's kind of crazy. So huge shout out to Coach Jeff Smith, who, I mean, went above and beyond to make the trip more of a surf trip than just traveling for a contest. We were able to take a lot of our athletes that had never left Maui for surf to see places where, you know, their idols had grown up surfing. I personally have, you know, worked with Jamie O'Brien and my homie Jack Tinney from the Juke Squad to help Jamie start his YouTube vlog maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So he was out at Pipe on the beach shooting, and, you know, gave us the honor of speaking to the team and taking a picture with them. And we were able to surf like a knee-high wave at sunset, jump off the rock at Waimea, see a bunch of other spots, and have a bit of fun at like an arcade. So it ended up being, you know, at times maybe trying for the adults, but that's where I say big shout out to Coach Jeff Smith, who has the patience and compassion to, you know, make sure that everyone has a good time, even if it was a sacrifice for himself, having to like wake up early and pay parking meters and move the van around and, like you said, fill like 17 people in a van and get it places and drop everybody off at the airport and clean the thing out and drop it back off and and everything that goes into a trip. So when it comes to the high school surf trip, again, that was the most fun trip I've ever had. I didn't get to surf that much, which on a surf trip, I would say your determining factors are like, how are the waves going to be, right? Like, how much is it going to cost? Can I get there? Do I need a passport? Can I get there? Type deal, right? Who are you going with? Because there's a big difference between going with your surfing friend and going with your surfing friend and his wife or fiance, you know? So, in the realm of the most fun I've ever had on trips, by far, that trip. It was almost like took me back to, you know, soccer tournaments, although this was way more like fun packed. You know, unfortunately, not everyone on our team made it to a final, but that also made it so that they weren't super burnt out from surfing and could do other things and have fun as opposed to just crash in the hotel. So when thinking of going on a surf trip to Costa Rica, you know, I'm looking for big waves. I'm looking for consistency of the area. How often during the year does it break well? Because you don't want to go somewhere and get skunked, right? Like, what is the vibe of the people you're going with? What's the vibe of the people that are there? And generally speaking, the country of Costa Rica is easygoing. They're one of the only countries in the world without a military, and it happens to be, you know, part of the colonization there. When the Spanish came, it was very tough to make it from like one coast to another. They ended up, I believe, just growing coffee, and the more northern countries up from Central America ended up taking the brunt of, you know, banana agriculture and trying to utilize what's grown in those countries as profit for some other country, right? So when Central America actually, I believe the countries either banded together or each of these countries fought against the Spanish, but when they were able to defeat the Spanish, Costa Rica really didn't ever have to fight. And so because of that, they're like a way more chill country, right? They don't have a military. They don't need it. They've released all of their animals from zoos back into wildlife reserves, and they have a vast, you know, portion of their country that is nature reserve that, you know, you can't just go building, and you got to keep pristine for the animals. So again, the vibe and the culture of the place that you go to ties a lot into what's going to happen on the trip. Now, I personally have gone to Costa Rica twice, and I can say from experience, going with your homie and going with your homie and their wife are two different stories. Now, both trips were good, but one trip is dudes surfing for 9 to 12 hours a day, getting fried in the sun, maybe smoking a joint, going to the local soda junta, getting a plate to eat, plato típico, and just passing out. You know, when you have a significant other, there's got to be more involved. It becomes more of a trip like bringing the kids. You need to entertain someone else that might not be surfing the whole time. And the focus is not just scoring the best wave you can, which, you know, is primarily the focus, but also you have these extra things you're going to have to touch on, these bullet points for a trip. So, again, most fun I've ever had on a surf trip. Right? The best place I ever surf on earth is right here on Maui, baby. So don't holla at me yet. Maybe Pipeline if I make it there next winter. But we got freight trains breaking right now on one of these big south swells coming in. So your boy is over the Ed the Dread show today. He's going to go starting south at Ke'onio or La Perouse Bay. And then I'm going to work my way back up and end at Ma'alaya or freight trains. You heard what I'm saying? So it's your boy Ed the Dread. What goes into a good surf trip and how the Honua Finals, the World Cup of Interscholastic Surfing went down. That was your Ed the Dread podcast for this Money Mouth Monday. And please smash the subscribe button. Click the like if you like. Share if you care. It's your boy. We going up there. I'll see you out there. Ahui ho kako.